Coral Beach Elementary Charter. And Shenandoah Middle School down in Miami, a peak gust of 47 miles per hour, and that storm is still a long way away. So what's it going to mean for the East Coast? Well, first of all, of course, this is up until tomorrow night. So this is before landfall, the 9 to 12-foot swells up and down Florida's East Coast. That, of course, is going to create quite a storm surge. Secondarily, the squalls, the very strong thunderstorms, the possibility for tornadoes that will come on shore before the storm makes landfall. Obviously, very dangerous, and that's just before the hurricane force winds come on shore. Meanwhile, very quickly, oh, by the way, Ivan, a tropical storm out in the central Atlantic, moving westward, expected to get to Category 2 status in the next 5 days and move into the Caribbean. Here we go again.
The tropics is very active. If Hurricane Francis isn't enough for us, we now have Tropical Storm Ivan.
It's headed toward the Caribbean Sea, so here you can see the Lesser Antilles, the islands there. This is now a Category 2 hurricane.
Meanwhile, we're just kind of sitting pretty. We're going to see some sunshine for the next few days. Looks really nice out there, so enjoy it while we can, right? Because we do have Ivan.
Very symmetrical, good, well-defined eye. Here's where the storm is within relation to the U.S., so it's still very far away.
The big question for us is what happens after western Cuba?
Here's the latest look at the infrared satellite on Ivan, and it is still a monstrous storm.
Actually, it looks like the storm may even be getting a little bit stronger. Category 5 with winds of 160.
We're currently under a hurricane watch, though a hurricane warning, no doubt, will be issued here sometime today.
And that's going to bring some very strong, very powerful winds to the panhandle of Florida.
All right, here's the plan. We're starting right at this moment with continuous coverage of the hurricane. I would, at this moment, I think we're experiencing the calm before the storm because it's still relatively nice outside.
Right.
Regardless, it's going to be a major storm event, and we all need to be prepared, and we are here to help you do that.
Yeah, absolutely, and that includes evacuation routes, shelters. We'll also have tips and advice on how to protect you and your family.
Of course, they have told us that they plan to shut down portions of roads already because they are starting to see the water get very close to the roadway. One sheriff deputy told me that water is already on the road on Via de Luna, just east of the Portofino condominiums near parking lot 11.
A very substantial storm surge is expected in places like Okaloosa Island, where as of 10 o'clock this morning, the water is already smacking up against the dunes.
This, of course, is a live picture from the Hardee's beach camera on top of South Harbor. And I mean, boy, what a difference. Just a little while ago, looking out there, things looked very calm. They look anything but calm now. The Gulf of Mexico looking extremely dangerous. It is and will be for the next few days. And we're talking about rainfall for the next 36 hours or so, maybe even 40 to 42 hours. Again, as much as 15 to 20 inches possible in South Alabama and Northwest Florida.
We're here on Navarre Beach, and the rain is coming down pretty hard right now. It's coming down pretty steady as well. The wind is blowing, a steady breeze is picking up, as you can see. But look at the Gulf behind me. This is what the Emerald Coast looks like now. It's pretty nasty out here. Take a look at the pier down there. The waves are crashing high way above that pier.
But of course, the reason why we were out here because early this morning they started seeing some flooding out here on Via de Luna, and you can see right behind me where sand and water has already come ashore, and we are seeing this all along Via de Luna.
Millions of people are preparing and readying for what looks like a after midnight landfall. You know, if you look at the track that Catherine gave and what everybody's the latest figures at 4 o'clock. Had 125 miles to go, and at 14 miles per hour. You're looking at about 9 hours from 4 o'clock in the afternoon. You're looking at about 1 a.m. Landfall for the eye.
We're over here at Navy Point, and the water surge is starting to come up here on the road. As you can see, it's come over the banks, and it has come here on the road. This is Baldwin's Drive. It's coming on the road. Some people that are still in the area are trying to get out.
As we go from that live shot you see of the Gulf Coast in Pensacola with our city cam, we're going to go to space for our next shot and give you an idea of what this looks like. Okay, now what this is, the International Space Station passed over Ivan at 5 o'clock our time.
I agree. On the other hand, it looks like it's definitely grew in strength since yesterday. The eye is much more pronounced, and the storm does look bigger. So there's always hope that it'll weaken as soon as it gets close to land.
The winds are between 130 and 140 miles an hour, and They've been hopeful that it'll weaken to Category 3, but it's certainly a strong storm.
We are under there somewhere.
As you can see, some portions of the International Space Station in view itself, with Hurricane Ivan in the background.
This is Escambia Bay here at Wayside Park. The surf is up, the surf is breaking over the wall here, over those fence barriers out there. The wind is driving. It's almost coming in horizontal on us right now.
What we call the T on that fishing pier is gone. And that's really taking a pummeling now. We're very concerned about erosion at Navarre Beach as Ivan gets closer and closer.
Feedback is I'm getting reports from as far away as Jacksonville is that the Channel 3 coverage of the pier and the activity out there, and I think it's been fed on the Weather Channel and other locations, is really transmitting the picture of what's going on, and people are valuing that an awful lot.
Just in the last 15 minutes or so, I think the wind speeds have increased to about 30 miles an hour, 35 miles an hour actually, and we actually went closer to the bay. We're up here by I-10. We went closer to the bay and we maxed out, got a maximum wind speed of about 44 miles an hour, so there's no doubt that Ivan is on his way.
A little technicality here.
Yeah, you got a lot of information to process, a lot to gather, and a lot to look at. We were looking at a live picture just a second ago from our city cam, I believe. I'm not sure what direction Byron, our director, was pointing in, but that flash apparently looks like another transformer exploding.
And that's what we're trying to tell people. It is absolutely unsafe to be out there at this point.
You can only imagine what it's going to be like when the winds reach a real hurricane force. So this is a very dangerous place. A lot of people are getting out of here, and I think that's the safe thing for everyone to do, including ourselves.
It's washing across the sidewalk here, and it seems to have caused this part of the sidewalk to buckle and to wash out part of the lawn here at the visitor center where we're standing.
Right now, as you drive through Pensacola, it's just water and little bits of trees flowing everywhere. Reporting from Pensacola Junior College campus, Dan Thomas.
And Dan Thomas has a few storm stories to tell as well. What have you seen?
Well, we went downtown right at daylight as soon as we could reasonably get out of the station after the storm had hit. This home was just an amazing story. A lady got out of it around 1 a.m. She sought shelter in her car, her and her grandson. She ended up surviving without a scratch.
Then the whole house started rocking. The whole house started rocking and shaking. I said, Mom, we got to go.
And by the time I come through the kitchen, the top went off, and here come one of them by the side down on my head. I just pushed it back, and we came on out the house.
So we made it out to the car, and it was 1:30, and we stayed in the car until 7 o'clock this morning.
During your talk with Dan, we're just rolling more and more video of the amazing situation
The site
that we
of
live
the
in.
Marina Oyster Barn.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the most compelling for me. Not that it all isn't, but that one site, it's hard to believe.
The emotions are difficult, certainly for all of us.
Well, reporter Steve Nissom has been in the 9 Mile Road area of Escambia County today. Did you see the same kind of situation there that we've seen in other parts?
Yeah, very similar, Sue. You know, there's a lot of trees in that area, beautiful trees, and a lot of them are down now. We went in this Fox Run subdivision, and there are just huge trees just lining the road. It was hard to even get in there. We had to go off-road to get in there. A lot of folks were banding together already. They had chainsaws out, and they were sawing some of the trees to open up the passageway in and out. Some of the houses not very fortunate there. Some were, some weren't. Some had trees right through them, but everybody seemed to be okay in there, and that was the important thing. Then we went over to West Florida Hospital, and this was an unbelievable scene. One of the buildings over there, the medical center building, took a huge hit. I mean, a lot of the glass out, a lot of the side of the building just off. I mean, it looked like a bomb went off in there. And believe it or not, there were people in there at the time of the storm when it started coming apart, and remarkably, they were okay. But we were able to talk to a couple of workers there. They were in the building at the time of the hurricane when the building started to come apart.
We were on the 3rd floor lab, sitting in the waiting area, and the windows blew. Everybody started running back to the back of the lab. Next thing you know, we had water damage, a lot of flooding, structural damage. Our lab work can barely be done. We're just doing critical stat levels. That's about it.
Did everyone get out safely? I mean, it looks like, people could have got hurt in there.
They could have gotten really hurt. When the glass just shattered in, we just all ran, and luckily nobody was hurt.
Here you've got a shot of a boat over near the Shalimar Bridge. This was from Thursday's video. The Shalimar Yacht Basin is nearby, and obviously a lot of the boats came unmoored, or they busted loose, and you had some of them actually even hitting up against, looks like a sailboat there, hitting up against the Shalimar Bridge and causing some problems there. They also had down power lines all across that bridge, and it was closed for a while, but it's back up and open now. We want to give you a look at some of the houses right there at the foot of the Shalimar Bridge. Some serious, obviously, storm surge coming in off Garnier's Bayou, slapping up against these homes where the roofs are peeled off and some of the sides of the buildings peeled off as well. Here you see photographer Cam Johnson got a pretty impressive shot of what a downed power line looks like when it's still live. A police officer going by there from Fort Walton Beach, obviously make sure nobody's foolish enough to get close. I don't think that'll be a problem. The picture you're looking at here is Highway 98. I believe this is looking westbound near Hurlburt Field's flight line. You can see where Santa Rosa Sound came across, and somebody obviously made it about halfway and gave up. Now going back towards Fort Walton Beach, this is actually over near Liza Jackson Park in the city of Fort Walton Beach. There's somebody's very nice boat in a place that it shouldn't be. Further down the island, heading towards Destin, this is the south side heading towards Destin. There's the Gulfarium, the Okaloosa Island Gulfarium. I understand they didn't have the same amount of damage that they had during Opal. Not quite as bad as what I've been told initially. But you can see, obviously, the storm surge still laying in the streets as of Thursday. Now, here's a good look at Highway 98, or what's left of Highway 98. As you look towards Destin, you can see where it's in between Choctawhatchee Bay on the north and the Gulf of Mexico on the south. And just like with Hurricane Opal, just essentially the water chewed up Highway 98. We understand as much as 1.5 miles of the highway was destroyed going towards Destin. But the governor was in town on Friday, and he told Okaloosa County officials, in fact, he pledged that he would do his best to get this road repaired just as quickly as possible.
Channel 3's Andrew McIntosh was allowed access so viewers could get a chance to see exactly what Ivan did to Gulf Breeze, and a lot again because they can't get to their homes are wanting to know what it looks like.
This is actually the Bob Sykes Bridge. As you can see, right at the foot of the bridge on the Gulf Breeze side, there is a gaping hole caused, of course, by Hurricane Ivan. This is right outside, right off the Bob Sykes Bridge, near the Sun Chase apartments. Debris, cars, everything just scattered throughout the area. A propane tank from the beach was right there across the street from that apartment. As you can see, windows blown out and a lot of damage there. Here is a couple of the houses in the Gulf Breeze area. As you can see, a lot of debris, a lot of trees scattered, flooding. Those near in the low-lying areas on the Gulf are basically in the Gulf now. A lot of flooding. Luckily, a lot of those houses are elevated. This is the Am South Bank in Gulf Breeze, completely destroyed. Apparently a sign went through there and the winds got in and just blew it apart.
Unbelievable. Channel 3's Sarah Baumgartner is in the newsroom with those details. Sarah?
Well, Sue, what we're hearing right now is that there's a search and rescue and a search and recovery underway at the Grand Lagoon subdivision. That subdivision is located off Gulf Beach Highway near Bower Road. We saw a convoy of trucks headed to the Grand Lagoon area. About 10 trucks, including a collapse unit, rescue unit, mass casualty unit from Hillsborough County, and search and rescue crews from Tampa, as well as the Escambia Search and Rescue.
Looking at the pictures now that Michael Loff and Lisa Vale brought back from Grand Lagoon, where they have a number of victims have been recovered so far, but the search is not nearly complete, and some of the utter devastation of some of the homes there. I fail to recall how many victims have been pulled from this subdivision. I think Lisa said 2, but for our radio viewers, you're looking at some homes that were in some spectacular areas that are reduced to splinters, where pilings have the foundation of wood for a home and nothing above it, and that's in several locations as we're looking past them, through them actually, at water. While a home stands, 3 or 4 more next to it do not. Another one stands and 3 or 4 more next to them do not.
Of course, 2 bodies were recovered from homes, Bob, but then they had 2 others, a male and a female, that were recovered from the water.
That's right. And actually, a retired sheriff's deputy, in one of the more amazing stories, and there always seems to be an amazing story in amazing events like this, sheriff's deputy, he was recovered in the rubble of his home today and brought back to the hospital, and we'll have an update on his condition, but apparently he's doing okay. He was conscious when they found him. The name escapes me right now, and I haven't written it down, but our thoughts go out to him, and what a harrowing time in his life. Looking at some of the inland flooding now in other parts of Grand Lagoon, where some of the houses did withstand the pounding. A golf cart,
a lazy boy,
completely out of place.
And as people start picking
effects.
up this trash, one of the easiest things, I think, is to burn. And there's a lot of burning, we understand, going on out there. You were asked, encouraged, told to not burn. Consider this, if a fire starts, there's no water.
It's crazy. It can lead to another disaster.
Water.
But some of these scenes here with the personal effects just strewn like a landfill in an area that was a posh and comfortable, luxurious area of southwest Escambia County. It looks like a landfill with some of the shots that Michael took.
Bob, the deputy who was rescued out there, retired Deputy Richard Lowry is his name.
Richard, congratulations. What a story you have to tell, and you've made it through the hard part, and I hope you're resting comfortably and well, and I cannot imagine looking at a partial construction of a new home. That seems to have done well. What do you see, Alan?
Well, still some of those markings that Lisa was talking about, how once they search the home, they will put the spray paint to telling who came by to do the search, what they discovered.
If there's a hazard. That's, some pretty good information. They also internal codes there, but you're looking at what was once
a pier that doesn't look like a home there, though.
And there are a lot of people in here who are part of this, what's called the Urban Rescue Team. They're the first ones in a disaster like this. On the ground here in Escambia County, we had first on the ground 8 teams of 70 people each and 4 K-9 units, and there were more people coming in. We understand many of them are sleeping out there on the beach so that they can just go in shifts and keep the search up. I mean, and they're having to go through an awful lot of debris. Every single home, every unit out there, they've got to search.
It's a job I couldn't even consider myself doing. It's got to be tough. Hoping, you're looking for victims and casualties, and it's got to be terrible when you find one. Continuing to look at Grand Lagoon, if you're joining us on the radio, you wouldn't like what you would see if you were watching us on TV. Utter destruction, a home here and there, personal effects just clinging to bushes and shrubs.
And it seems like the homes that were hit, Bob, are just gone. There was no half.
You're absolutely right.
Here.
I mean, here you put these pilings there and put the home up on top of the pilings so that the water goes underneath the home. There are the pilings and the home is gone.
Yeah.
Probably most of that wind damage would be my guess from what I'm looking at.
But you're right, it seems to be all or nothing. Of course, there are some homes that are standing, and the ones that we do see that look intact probably have suffered some damage, but it does appear, as we're looking at the sites of former homes, and there's nothing there.
Nothing.
You can kind of tell there was a home there, but there's nothing structurally to tell you, to indicate that, except the debris from personal effects and clothes.
And that one, there was a driveway, but I didn't even see a foundation there.
Some of the homes, obviously, that are not on stilts. Here's one that's standing, a couple that are standing, but you can almost see right through.
Everything's blown out.
Was perhaps a living room or garage, as everything inside has been blown out. This home seems to be a brick home, beautiful home at that, a shell. The garage door tilted at an awkward angle. Carpets, rugs, crates,
washing
toys.
machines, dryers.
While that sounds redundant for the people who are watching on television, we're trying to accommodate the folks who do not have TV and are listening to us on the radio. So at the risk of being redundant with our comments, we apologize. But a kayak, too.
Again, this being the area that was seeing the east side of the center of Hurricane Ivan, and where you always expect the worst damage. And it took a little bit of a jog to the right, to the east, and ended up heading toward bringing that most serious part of the storm toward Perdido Key and toward the Grand Lagoon.
We have some video from north of Escambia County right now, and we're seeing those trees that you were talking about. This is headed up towards Atmore, just like you said, just across the fields like toothpicks.
Yeah, they really are. I saw lots of trees that the bark was peeled off. The tree may still be up, but the bark was peeled off. I saw a few trees that weren't leaning at least to some degree. Many trees that had their tops broken out or were down completely. There are thousands upon thousands of trees that are damaged, and of course that takes out the power lines, and in many cases the utility poles themselves are gone.
We're looking at some of the destruction of the buildings in Milton, around in Pace. Just awesome. A home apparently there, just in rubble. Take us further north in the county and the extent of the damage in those areas. I know that in Santa Rosa County, the Santa Rosa jail lost part of its roof, and we discussed that. Give us an overview. Move us north.
Well, that's another part of the problem, even in the north end of the county. Let's forget about the rivers and bayous, where we had a lot of people isolated and people lost their homes up in Mulat Bayou and up in East River and so on. We had problems with tornadoes. We had people in double wides up in the north end of the county that had some problems there. Tornadoes had near misses. We also had a lot of people that had downed trees in their houses and things like that. So it looks like there was no part of the county untouched.
We have some astonishing video to show you right now. A Florida town man, that's Santa Rosa County, rode out Hurricane Ivan inside his home and shot video as his house began to flood.
I was in the top floor of the house. The bottom floor, the waves are crashing over the deck. Sometimes into the window. The underneath the house is coming apart. The whole house is ready to let go. See outside? That's the waves coming over the deck. I'm gonna try my best to make it. I'm gonna stay with the top of the house. I think we're about to collapse here. Sure looks that way. You may try to save that piece of porcelain on the... Alright, I guess we'll let that go. Oh, man. I believe I'm about to go swimming.
The old pier, popular for fishing, and you see the new pier that was built. Obviously, nobody there. It is a wasteland of people, but the buildings at Fort Pickens look like they're still standing. Chris?
Yeah, there's still plenty of standing water in that section that I don't know. I'm not sure what those homes are used for or what those buildings are used for, but
tourist information, historical, there's some museums there as well, information. Mostly fishermen head out there, but we see right now the perimeter of Fort Pickens, which obviously no longer used, but it's still protecting at least Fort Pickens.
Standing water in there.
Yeah, and you can see the storm surge has obviously gone right over, looks like the walls of Fort Pickens, because within the fort, looks like a swimming pool. It's completely full of water. Unbelievable to look at.
We are now flying around the end of Fort Pickens and heading back to the east, where in the distance you will see Pensacola Beach and some of the developments. Right now we're riding right over the beach, considerably lower than the governor's tour video, and what we're seeing now is water that has obviously come over the beach. Chris has zoomed in now on what used to be Fort Pickens Road, with obviously intrusion from the sand washed over it.
And it looks like we're seeing actually on the order of maybe 1 or 2 feet of sand, maybe even 3 feet in some cases of sand, now passing the ranger station once again, and the road completely covered up by sand. Occasionally we are able to see parts of the road which give us an idea of where it was, and now it looks like the road has completely washed away.
And here's the big breach. It's cut in half. There's water going from the Sound to the Gulf.
To the Gulf. Mm-hmm.
And it's quite an expanse that...
Not water you could drive a boat through, but certainly it looks like water is flowing completely from the Gulf into the San Rosa Sound.
The water didn't see, from looking up there, that you could see the sand right up under it, maybe 3 feet at most from up there. But it was completely over, all the way to the other side of the bay.
It looks like the road is buckled.
Well, it looks like it's in pieces.
Yeah, pieces would probably be a little bit better, because some of it is just gone. You could see away from where the road was, pieces of the road. And it doesn't get any better as we get closer to Pensacola Beach.
Lisa Bell bringing up a good point, too. This is flat as a board. There's not a dune to be found.
This is a second breach coming up here.
A much bigger one now. This one looks like you might be able to drive a boat through. I'm not sure. We'll get a little bit closer.
And in either case, certainly not a car. So
no.
And I mean, what we're looking at right now, what usually is a beach or at least an island, looks to be a pass.
And it looks like the tide's coming in.
Have I missed the boardwalks?
No, they're up ahead.
Okay.
They're up ahead. We've got some ways to go, a couple of miles before we reach the Fort Pickens toll station, which I don't even see there.
And it almost like waves are even breaking where the road used to be.
Following Fort Pickens Road, water to the left, where there normally shouldn't or isn't. To the right, beach, which is substantially narrower than a few days ago.
And the operative flat.
It is flat as a board.
Flat as a board.
Dunes are gone. No sea oats. There's nothing.
Nothing.
Semblance of a road.
The pink condos. What's the name of this condo complex?
I always forget the name of the condos. I'm sure somebody in the control room is going to shout. The Beach Club. Thank you, Jack. They look. Palm Beach Club, to be specific, Jack says. All right, now we're flying down what would be Fort Pickens Road, but we're between the condos, and Chris is now zooming in on.
It looks like some condos have been completely destroyed.
Yeah,
right here.
when I looked at that, it looked like just the foundation of what was there at one time was the only thing left.
Across the street from Tristan Tower.
Looked like many units just completely destroyed, maybe a dozen units.
And I'm fixing to focus in, everybody knows where that cross sits up on that dune. Right there, when you're coming down Fort Pickens, that's the only thing left there. It's
the Sans Souci right now with some roof damage as well. We're passing over that. There's no semblance of a road. We're looking at the.
Do you see the cross still there? There's the cross.
The cross is standing, surrounded by water, I might add. Looking at some of the other residents.
But that dune not nearly as high.
It used to stretch from one condo to the next, and it's.
We're continuing to the east now. The Dunes Hotel, the motel.
Certainly damaged, as you can see on the side.
Yeah, the motel is severely damaged.
What is that? That's whatever it is. It's flattened.
Five
flags.
Here comes the Holiday Inn, isn't it?
But the flag, it wasn't there.
There's not much there. The road, as it twists around, all you see is sand, and we're coming up on Casino Beach and the Pensacola Beach Fishing Pier.
Did you see any damage to the pier at all?
None at all.
Crabs.
The Hampton Inn, which looks like maybe some damage on top, but not too bad. The new Hilton Garden Inn that's rising in the distance as we get closer.
Of course, sand all around all of these buildings.
Yeah, there is some damage on the side.
I would say we're fixing to get to a part where the sand is almost up to the first floor of every building from here out.
Exactly. It looks like the buildings are literally cut in half. They're half of what they used to be height-wise.
all the houses that we're looking at now, the residential area of Pensacola Beach, is completely surrounded by sand, just haphazardly. We're zooming in on some of them right now, and obviously there's going to be some damage, but the one we're looking at right now looks like it's not too bad. That one doesn't.
There's a structure gone. Look at that one.
$5 million home, but we're told the one that we just passed right now, it looked all right. There's the tennis court. Alan's been on that a couple of times.
St. Sylvester's Church.
The dome home is in the left of your screen.
I kind of come in a little bit.
There you go.
Some
damage.
There's the person
damage
walking
there?
down the beach. Did y'all see the guy just
And I wonder, he was right there near the dome home walking.
My understanding is that the people in the dome home, and this is what I heard, that they did stay in that home, which they say is hurricane proof, and they actually had an NBC crew stay with them as well, and they may still be out there. I would assume.
That might have been the person we saw walking.
There was a human walking along there. We're going along the Gulf Coast now, looking at some of the expensive homes and looking at what was once a home. It's a pile of rubble. No indication of what road or avenida that once was.
It's I've been up above Pensacola and the beach plenty of times in a helicopter and planes, getting video. If I went on the beach, it's hard to tell a road from where it began. Even over, I take some shots of Pensacola later coming in. The pilot had to say where we were because he's been up many a times.
We're looking at some of the expensive homes along the waterfront, which, as we nice zoom in, Chris, nice job by the way, seem to have suffered some roof damage, but some appear to have suffered no damage at all as we're approaching from west to east the Portofino complex, where the construction cranes remain on top of the building. There seems to be some damage on one that's under construction.
Looks like that
top floor
is gone.
But it doesn't appear that the buildings that are complete have been damaged too much.
There was some window damage in one. It was hard to tell.
Could you tell, Chris?
With Portofino, it looked like to be in the best shape of anything out there, and maybe because it is brand new.
Some of the construction trailers have been toppled. Now we're going off to the undeveloped area of the national seashore here.
Well, first off, just like you're seeing here now, overhead it all looks like white sand and water. But when you get down and it gets to eye level, you can actually tell what the severity of the damage is. You can see a blown off roof or a collapsed house from the air, but you really don't understand the total perspective of what it is until you get down to where the road is. Getting close to your neighbor.
Yeah, it sure is. Yeah.
People were calling all night long, worrying, are you still alive? Are you still alive? And they would wake people up, and you'd answer your cell phone in a muffled voice because you didn't want to wake other people up in the house, so you could literally talk. People would say, are you okay? Are you okay? And say, well, can you hear me? And they'd say, yeah. And I said, am I talking loud? And they'd say, no. And I'd say, well, we're okay in here. So that's the way it was. I mean, the house performed beyond our expectations. I mean, it was truly amazing. It was almost like watching a hurricane on TV.
I can shoot right here, fire.
Pensacola side of this now and traversing it like so many thousands would do on a normal commute to Milton and Santa Rosa County and beyond. And it's amazing looking at that eastbound lane because the sections that still are on top of the pilings are jaggered and zigzagged across. And of course, there's the truck that's over the side. They're looking for him, the driver now, and the sections that are completely out of whack, gone, missing.
You got everybody working every direction, everybody's injured, everybody's got some involvement in the storm. And there are people everywhere helping everybody as best you can, and that's what we're trying to do. Just keep going.
Community, it's the time we need one another. We need to pull into this thing together to strengthen one another. It's a time for strength.
We got married right on the beach back there. That's where we were married, and you know, it's still there, and this is our house, and we'll be back.
That in our top story, for the second time in 2 months, President Bush paid a visit to Pensacola.
This time it was not a campaign stop, but rather to see the damage from Hurricane Ivan. Channel 3's Dan Thomas was at NAS Pensacola when the president arrived and has the story.
This was a big storm that caused a lot of damage and a lot of suffering.
Words the president uses to describe what he saw firsthand in both Florida and Alabama from Marine One. A scramble marina in downtown Pensacola, gutted high-rises on the beach, luxury homes on the Intercoastal Waterway, now worthless. From the ground, the president not only got a closer look at the rubble where homes once stood, he got to console the people who lost all.
We're sorry for people that are worse off than us.
Emergency workers explained how they're doing their job, and the president got a chance to personally thank each of them.
Sir, for your hard work. Appreciate your troops, thanks too.
Matter of fact, let's go ahead and start with the ice, water, and MRE distribution. Been a lot of concern about that. The lines are long, but distribution centers are set up throughout the area.
Tampa Bay Buccaneer Derek Brooks, who never forgets where home is, came back to bring 2 tractor-trailer loads of supplies.
I'm a man of action in very few words. So I just thank God that I am in a position and others believe in the mission that I'm doing to pull our resources together to not only help out Pensacola, help out our state as a whole.
Gulf Power says 360,000 of their 400,000 customers do not have power, and it may be especially difficult at this point to determine when power will be restored.
Well, I don't have the English words really to explain that, but it's a very human experience and emotive with much emotions, because the people here give us so much gratitude. We had gifts, we had hugs, we got thank you. Everybody said thank you with their lights, with their hands, and we can't believe that.
Again, it's long lines. People are waiting as much as 2 and 3 hours. People are just driving around until they find a site and then getting in line and waiting. At most of those locations, you'll find law enforcement or National Guard. They're trying to make the passageway through as smooth as possible, but again, be prepared for a long wait. Schools in Escambia, Santa Rosa, and Okaloosa counties are closed tomorrow. Now, we don't know the length of time that those schools will be closed, but in Escambia County, we're told that they are looking at least 3 weeks. There was damage done to every school in Escambia County, some of it quite extensive.
I think it's a symbol of recovery for Northwest Florida that is replacing the symbol of that tragic truck driver that lost his life in the middle of the storm.